professors were leaving and everyone was stressed to hell. And I was like, this is not the profession for me anymore. This is too stressful. And so I decided to take the leap. And in that first year, after being on food stamps, living in subsidized housing, I ended up going 6 figures in my business.
We all know that real estate has created more millionaires than any other industry on the planet. We also know that it has created a lot of heartache due to mismanagement, overborrowing, and just simple life events that happen to all of us. Welcome to the Cash Flow Pro podcast. My name is Casey Brown, and I am your fearless leader. And although we might be bourbon sipping and at times foul-mouthed Southerners, we will always do our best to be honest, straightforward, and due diligent with all of the information we pass along to you. Welcome to the show. Hey there, and welcome to today's episode of Cash Flow Pro, your daily real estate investing podcast and YouTube channel. I want to welcome everybody today, and I want to give a warm welcome to Dr. Amanda Barrientez. I got it right.
You got it.
She is with NFA Money, and she has such an array of things that she brings to the table when it comes to money. I mean, everything. Anytime I get somebody on the show, or I don't even know, I told her I don't even know if I've had a doctor on this show, but when I get somebody on the show that I know is well qualified to give you financial advice and talk about investing and talk about returns, I can guarantee you this is the top of the peak. Okay, so we're going to get what she's got. Hopefully she's going to give it to us. So Amanda, take it away and welcome to the show.
Casey, good to be on. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
And it's exciting because what I focus on is really financial intelligence, right? And all of the things behind what causes you to be a good investor. So I'm sure we'll have a fun conversation.
So many people need that. I mean, and Dave Ramsey he's absolutely made a fortune from just being direct, telling people what they don't want to hear and telling people what they don't want to hear to the degree that they end up doing it. And then yes, and it's a little bit of a lead by example kind of thing. So that's, yes, people need financial education. And I've always said that, and I think a lot of people follow this to a degree, is sometimes, so there's some things in high school and college they could really do away with and simply just teach people how to balance a checkbook. Period. End of story.
Anyway. That's really the impetus for my whole business. It was like when I was a wreck and I started learning just basic skills like relationship and money. And it was like, oh, we don't learn this anywhere. We were just supposed to somehow absorb it from our surrounding and do a good job. But most people have a lot of shame and fear and guilt and doubt and uncertainty and jealousy and resentment, like all those things around money. And so, what do you do when you don't know what to do? We usually just don't talk about it, and it's scary. It was interesting on my show the other day. I had a CPA on, and he was talking about how people come to him and tell him that his clients will tell him that they've been shamed by their CPAs, like telling them, making them feel bad about the way they've spent money. And this is it's really common.
Well, and the unfortunate part is I guess it's been assumed for however many years that this is something that is taught in the home.
Yeah.
And the unfortunate part about it is it wasn't taught. If it's not taught, it's not taught. And that's when going back like a couple of generations. If my grandparents didn't teach my parents aren't going to teach me. And then am I going to teach my kids? Most likely not. But so it almost is like a breaking of the cycle kind of thing too.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I think that some people, again, there's a common thread that runs that if you don't know about it, it's not there. So like, they're kind of like, if I don't have any money and I don't look and I don't pay any attention to it, then it's really not a problem.
Yeah.
It is. And I've been guilty of that myself. I mean, you're busy doing other things, and then all of a sudden you're broke. You didn't even realize it. So, but yeah, so what types of I guess let's kind of start back and let's qualify a little bit and kind of maybe get a little backstory on who you are, where you come from, and then we'll kind of go forward into the money discussion part of it.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
want people to find out eventually here at the end of this what NFA money is.
Oh, we could
Uh,
start with that. That's a fun
okay.
one. Yeah. So NFA stands for no fucking around. So it's no fucking around money is my company. And really the idea behind that is radical responsibility and taking control of your reality and realizing that you are the creator of your reality. And so most of the time, like you were saying before, we want to avoid things by blaming other people, blaming our childhood, blaming our circumstances, blaming society, blaming COVID, whatever it is,
Yep.
instead of going, hey, I actually can learn and I can learn how to be a money master. And so for me it really started that way where one night I was laying on the floor crying. I had left my 15-year marriage having an affair. My next relationship wasn't working out. So I'm staring at this empty basement because my boyfriend had moved out all of his furniture. And I had spent the day on Craigslist looking for places to live and I couldn't afford anything. I
Yeah.
had 3 kids in grad school. And I was like, oh shit, I'm going to have to live in a studio apartment with like college students who are in their 20s partying. And, I was just going
Is that
like,
a bad thing? I don't. I'd be like, let's go. Come on.
I
No.
mean, solo may be okay, but with your 3 kids, it's like, oh
Yeah.
crap, this is not a good situation. And
Yeah.
so I was pretty freaked out. And
Yeah.
I was, sitting there having this moment of just like terror. And I was thinking, no one's coming to rescue me here. Like, my parents didn't have money at the time. I was stuck. I had no credit cards and I was just like, oh my God, what am I going to do? And I had this kind of epiphany moment where I was like, I'm the center of the problems here. Like, I looked at my patterns in my relationships and I'm like, okay, that's me. My money. Yes, I was in grad school working my way to get a better job and to be able to figure out how to have a profession that paid. So, I'm going, I got to get out of this situation. And I really made a promise to myself in that moment, like, I'm willing to do whatever it takes to shift and start to learn what I need to learn. And it led to podcasts, which was really cool because I was so busy. So I didn't have a lot of money. Right. And so I'm going, okay, I'm going to listen to podcasts on the go while I'm taking my kids to school, washing dishes. And I just was listening double time, learning, learning, learning. And it started to change me really from the inside out. And then the cool pattern that I noticed was that all the podcasts were done by coach type people. And I was like, I really love teaching. I was a professor in the university and I loved teaching. It was one of my favorite things. And I thought, what if I became a coach? And then at the same time, my department where I was earning my graduate degree had this national news fallout where professors were leaving and everyone was stressed to hell. And I was like, this is not the profession for me anymore. This is too stressful. And so I decided to take the leap. And in that first year, after being on food stamps, living in subsidized housing, I ended
Oh,
up going 6 figures in my business. And everything since then has really been focused on how to master your mindset and overcome yourself to really feel like you have a magic wand to create whatever it is that you say you want to create in your reality.
and that's what the other day I had somebody on my podcast, and we were talking about just simply getting out of your own way.
Yeah.
And that's I guess probably an in short version of everything you just said, and that's focusing on where the problems are, and most of the time, at least from my experience, when you see people, because in the real estate sales business part of my career, we would operate with people. A lot of times, about half the time, you were meeting people at a point in their life where they really didn't want anybody to see them, simply because they were either going through divorce or they had just experienced a death, and again, the other half is people that are moving up, moving away, no issues, right? So, but unfortunately, the other half, the half that I'm talking about, where they not that they are getting in their own way, but sometimes those situations tend to, like almost forcibly put people in their own way because they really don't know how to dig out. So,
Yeah.
so that when you say changing the mindset, that's to me the biggest thing that somebody can do is just say, hey, okay, all of a sudden I'm sick of living like this or this.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to stop blaming my childhood. I'm going to stop blaming my mother, father. I'm going to stop doing all of these things. And you know what? I'm going to focus on tomorrow. Um,
Yeah.
and that's one of the lessons I try to stay in front of my kids with is, I don't care what you do tomorrow, just make sure it's an improvement over today.
That's
And
awesome.
so I'm the perfect parent, right? So I
Of
forgot to tell you
course.
before the show. Perfect. Sure. There are times they tell me they hate me and they wish I would leave them alone and I can't be in their business. And I had to tell my 10-year-old the other day that her business was my business, whether
Yeah.
she believed it or not. So, yeah,
Everything you do is my business.
correct. You have no business. Okay. How is that? All right. I don't even know a 10-year-old that deserves to have business. But anyway, we got it straightened out. So, yeah, so changing of the mindset. Now, I'd like to just go into, obviously we've got your backstory and if your degrees and your education didn't pre-qualify you, your life experiences sure do, because there's a lot of people that are in those scenarios, and the ones that tend to stay in those scenarios are the ones that would have turned around and started pointing at everything around them. Again, the ex spouse or the
Yeah.
time married spouse or whatever. But the ones like yourself tend to look forward and say, okay, hey, all right, hey, I fucked up, I messed up, let's go. And
Yeah.
so that's so what when you start talking about mind shifting, what does the beginnings of that look like, and where do you tend to find people, and then where do you tend to get them aimed in the right direction and go?
Yeah, you said so many important things there. One thing I want to add to that you're saying is, for me, that was that critical moment where I did decide to take radical responsibility, because before that, I did blame everyone else. It was like, my PhD's in sociology, which is the study really of marginalization and oppression. And so, how to make society better by studying the things that aren't working is mostly what sociology is. And so it was like in that discipline, I learned a lot about, I'm a first gen college student, a marginalized identity in terms of like Native American history, indigenous, that kind of thing. And so it was like I was blaming that on where I was at. I blamed my ex-husband completely for me having an affair. I blamed my parents and religion, all the things. And so it was in that moment I really was like, you know what? Like if I keep blaming everyone else, nothing's gonna ever change. I got to take responsibility here. And so, I wasn't perfect before. And it's for me, what that really is a shift from victim mindedness to victor mindedness. And you go, I no longer choose to be a victim. The past is not able to be changed. My perception of it can change, but I
Yeah.
can't change the past. So what am I going to do from today forward to get a different future? And if we keep living in the past, it's impossible to change the future. And if we keep blaming other people, it's impossible to control your reality. And so
Yeah.
it's like, okay, where can I be responsible? So that's really where it started. And so in retrospect, in terms of all of the things I've done since that moment and all of the people I've helped walk through their stuff, I like to come up with formulas because it's easy and systematic, and it's like point A to point Z. So my NFA money formula is exactly what you're asking. So it's step one, recognize. Like first, you've got to recognize where you're at. You've got to recognize where you're thinking. You've got to recognize that your mindset is focused on blaming other people. It's focused on all the negative. It's focused on thinking that the history is going to repeat itself, or imposter syndrome, fears, doubts, uncertainties, all those things. So you got to recognize that first. And then in step two, you've got to reframe your belief system and reframe your actions. So you got to start going, okay, what am I choosing to believe now? How am I going to start to change? And what actions am I going to take today? One small step at a time to get different results. And then in step three, you repeat that to reprogram, because everything we do is a habit, and habits are formed through repetition. And when you repeat something, it's internalized. So what most people do is repeat all the crap, right? They repeat. We have 60 to 70,000 thoughts per day, and 95% of them are the same over and over and over again. So what happens is your brain creates a pathway of least resistance, and you have autopilot thoughts that just go to the same place every day. And if your thoughts aren't supporting your success, you're going to keep getting the same results. So you've got to do one, recognize; two, reframe; three, repeat over and over and over again to reprogram your mindset. So it's interesting how simple it actually is to change. The hard part is the first starting point where you get to go, who am I going to be? Who am I going to choose to be? Do I choose to get something different? And then you got to do what it takes step by step every day to repeat to get the autopilot success habits in place.
Wow. 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 recognize, um,
Recognize, reframe. So you're
reframe.
reframing your thoughts, your actions, your decisions, and then reprogram is the result through repetition.
Yep. And there's a lot of R's there.
Yeah,
Um,
I love simplicity, right? Because then we can
okay.
remember it and we can go, okay, it's a really simple formula. Recognize, reframe, repeat. Recognize, reframe, repeat.
Hi, this is Casey Brown, host of the Cash Flow Pro podcast and YouTube channel. Have you been thinking about investing in real estate but just don't know where to begin? I'd like to help by inviting you to check out our website at www.3000capital.com. There you will find an array of material that will help you learn all about real estate syndication. And while you're there, be sure to check out our free video series download titled 5 Must-Know Keys to Success in Passive Real Estate Investing. I'd also like to personally thank you for making Cash Flow Pro part of your day. Now, back to the show. And so I want to somewhat, I guess, in a way, uh, I want to bring in and kind of push this towards my real estate syndication audience and say,
Yeah.
that's a lot of times what we do as real estate investors is, and we call it rinse and repeat. I mean, I know that's obviously the simplistic version without all of the life nuances involved there, um, but but rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, and you keep that same goal in mind ahead of you. It's not much different. It's
Yeah.
virtually the same thing. One way is talking about life, the other way is talking about your financial well being or whatever. And so when you start, so your program kind of takes into effect the money parts of things first or last, or do you work on the kind of shoveling everything else out of the way first and then you take money? How does the money come into play there?
Yeah. So I work a lot with law of attraction and manifestation. And really, what that is a science of quantum physics being applied to you getting what you say you want. And so
Okay.
I like to simplify it. A lot of people go like, law of attraction, that's some woo woo nonsense. And when I first started studying it and researching, I'm like, am I really going to start teaching law of attraction? Like, I'm a social scientist and, you got to have proof and all these things. And then I started reading a lot about quantum physics and metaphysics and all of those things. I'm like, oh my God, this works. It's worked for me. It works for the people I teach it to. So it all goes together. The reason I like to focus on money is because your outer world is a reflection of your inner world.
Okay.
And so money is an outer reflection of your inner world. So money is a very tangible physical manifestation of your inner thinking and your inner ways of being, your inner energetic states, the way that you feel. And so I love working with people on how they're feeling energetically because entrepreneurs, one of the success measures, really the main one is money, right? And so I get to go, okay, if you are interested in making more money, you got to work on what's within. So you got to start shifting your mindset, which then gets you into inspired action, which then attracts money your way without you having to work so hard. So, one of my main mantras in my business is work less, make more, have fun. And that's what I've done in my business. Every year I work less hours, I make more money, and I have more fun because I'm doing things I love through learning to automate, delegate, and drop things. And so I teach people how to get into their zone of genius to make money. That way they feel like they're on vacation all the time. It's like, oh, well, it's fun right now. I have fun talking to you. I don't feel like I'm working, you know?
That's where passive income fits into that lifestyle. So
Yes.
like just a perfect fitting puzzle piece. I mean, it's like, you want to have more fun and do these things. And then if you have, if you can center around, okay, how do I make money while doing nothing? Then it truly becomes what we call mailbox money in this, or at least that's what I call it. And so to say all of that and then to center it around having more fun and doing the things in life that you want to do, because time is the only thing that we've got, right? I mean,
Yeah.
if you really essentially get down to it, things are not bought with money. They're bought with little bits of your time and what time it took to make that money. So the only way to truly leverage is to increase the impact you can have in the same amount of time as the next guy. And
Yeah.
so I love that whole like that whole way of looking at it. So when you get so we've got the mindset, we've got the money, and then we kind of bring everything together and say, okay, these two things go together because, like you said, every year you want to work less, have more fun, be around those you enjoy being around more, or more regular, more often, or whatever the situation is. And then, so I guess carry us on through the next part of the journey. I mean, from there, the rinse and repeat part.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what you want to do, most people, a lot of entrepreneurs, let's say, live in a state of stress. So, they're really addicted to stress. And so, they build prisons out of their businesses. And
Yeah,
so, they're working really, really hard. They're often struggling, or when they start to make money, they get these what I call money blocks and competing commitments. And competing commitments are when your unconscious and conscious are battling against each other. And 95% of us is unconscious. So if 95% of you doesn't believe that you deserve that much money, or has fear around making lots of money, or feels afraid that people are going to judge you for having a lot of money, there's all kinds of money blocks that come in. If 95% of you believes that, and only 5% of you believes it's awesome to have a ton of money, you're going to have some sort of conflict and competing commitments in there. And so teaching people how to feel good about making bigger and bigger amounts of money is what I love to do. So, people know me as the money healer, and it's helping people heal their relationship to money so that they feel good making money, spending money, learning how to leverage money, all those things that go along with the money making game.
yeah, and then of course there's always the bit of responsibility that comes along with that,
Yeah.
and not
Yes.
doing it too much, which that's not the American way. The American way is to take all the money you have, spend all of that, and then spend as many credit cards worth of money as you can get.
Yeah.
It's the American way. But so to come in there, gather the money, to understand that you deserve that you deserve what you've earned, or what you're making, or just the simple fact that a lot of times, and as marketers, which is again at the heart of everything we do, we're marketers, or I do anyway.
Yeah.
And as marketers, we tend to, if there's a line in the sand, we tend to get our foot as close as we possibly can to it, and then lean over the line just to see how far we can lean before we fall. And
Yeah.
that's I don't think that that's a far fetched example of just about the way a lot of people are, whether they're marketers or not. And so there has to be some responsibility there. And then how do you put that stuff in check on the other side to say, hey, like the checks and balances kind of.
I would say everybody's unique, and so it's interesting. Like, human behavior is human behavior. So what I like to teach people is their stretch zone, to where they can stretch their money set point, and they can use their energy, their mindset, their intellect, their actions to stretch it to whatever amount they want to. So when they're at that stretch point you're talking about, where it's like, how far can we go before we really sabotage in certain ways, right? How do we remove the sabotage so that then you can expand your fullest potential, and whatever that is for you? And that's going to be different for each person. And when you're starting out in the money making game, everyone here who's listening, who's a bigger investor and has more money, they can look back and remember when they started, how a certain amount of money to them seemed like a lot, and now it's a much larger amount of money. Then that's like, oh, that's normal to me now, and it's a bigger amount that seems like a lot. So we all have a money set point, and
Yeah.
so we've got to learn how to stretch that money set point so that we don't sabotage ourselves.
Yeah, and then so that makes perfect sense, and it's a lot of times, I guess, maybe people see that throughout a career, and obviously, you know a $300,000 house is a lot of money when you're going and you're borrowing the majority of it, and then that's a lot of money. But then, as you pay it down, and as you get on the other side of paying it down, now you're looking back the other direction, saying, that was a lot of money, but hey, it was manageable. We did it, or whatever the case is. So again,
Yeah.
even though you're not meaning to change
Yeah.
your mindset, your mindset is changing kind of as you progress through different waves of life, I guess. So,
Yeah.
all right. So tell us. I want to hear a little bit about specifically, um, if you want to discuss NFA money, and what it has to offer. Whether, because I think you said it was a coaching, that you had some coaching stuff that you were doing, and just kind of discuss with us a little bit about how all of this gets put into like action? I guess somebody comes to you and says, "Hey, man, I'm ready to do this." Then what happens?
Yeah. Yeah. So I would say I do a lot of teaching of strategies. So I'm a money coach for entrepreneurs and coach type people. And
Okay.
it's a lot of it is training and strategy around how to reprogram your money mindset. And so, I take a handful of one on one clients per year. And then I have a YouTube channel, NFA Money, teach, do videos there every week. And then I have a course called Reprogram Your Money Mindset, and then I teach, 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 teach. And it's really something, the skills that I teach are for every level of income. It just depends on how big you want to go and how good you want to feel along the way. And so it's really fun. Teaching is one of my highest values. So I always teach people to live in their zone of genius, knowing their value system. And
Yep.
so, zone of genius would look like you wake up every day, you love what you're doing, you feel inspired, you feel alive, you feel joy. You're like, awesome, my life is great. It couldn't be better. And I
Yep.
get to do everything I love through I tell people drop, automate, delegate. Anything you don't like, you got to drop, automate, delegate. Because what happens then, as you raise your frequency, the higher your frequency is, the more that you attract what you want your way. So as you get into a state of joy in what you're doing in your work, you attract opportunities instead of having to work so hard. And so that's where that work less, make more, have fun comes in. And
Interesting.
so, working with people in whether it's one-on-one coaching or through I have masterminds or courses, that's how people learn my strategies.
Awesome. Awesome. And as we discussed pre-show, you're from where I was raised, Colorado
Yeah.
Springs. So, but so what? I guess other information around this. I was wanting to one of the things that I read here again, and this is going to kind of go back to your story, was after going from food stamps to building a six-figure income fast. Now, if you had to give one or two pieces of advice for somebody that maybe they're not all the way down on food stamps, a bit extreme, and maybe they don't want to just wake up tomorrow and make six figures. Maybe they want to just kind of maybe like maybe let's say they make 25,000. They're living paycheck to paycheck, and they're trying. Of course, 25,000 in this day and time is not much, but let's say they're. What is a couple pieces of advice you could give somebody just to get started, kind of on their own?
Yeah. The things you've got to focus on are raising your value on wealth building. So
Mhm.
if you don't have the amount of money that you want to have, first you got to ask yourself, what am I spending any time on learning how to make more money? Am I spending time on learning money mindset? So for me, when I was on food stamps, it was like, I realized I don't know anything about money,
Yeah.
really. It was just like I just learned and picked up. I help people write a money story so that they can see the downloads that they got when they were kids, because we get programmed with our money beliefs from ages 0 to 7 from our
Money story.
parents.
Hang on.
Oh, yeah,
Money
yeah.
story. Money story. Let's before you go further, because that just really like just jumped right at me when you said that. What what is somebody's money story?
Yeah, so this is awesome. This is so when we're ages 0 to 7, we
Okay.
are having our subconscious mind programmed with all the things around us that we see, we hear, we're told, we observe, and we're like sponges. We have no filtration system. We just take it in, take it in, take it in, and it programs us with specific beliefs. So I
Okay.
help people start to understand what is that money story that you created that you're still playing out today. And so I have people look at, what were you told when you were little about money? What did you observe? What did you experience? And people's minds are blown because they're like, oh my God, I watched my parents. Here's an example. I watched my parents fight a lot about money and feel stressed, whether they made a lot or a little. They were stressed out about money. And so it taught me money equals stress. And so now every time I go to make more and more money, I start to feel stressed and I start to get scared of making more because I'm afraid that if I make too much, I'll be too stressed. And
Right.
so they either avoid looking at their money or they avoid making too much money. So they have this money set point that caps them at whatever amount they subconsciously think is too much. And so we help to
Correlation.
deprogram that.
You think that's the correlation between um, like our addiction to stress as life
Oh,
goes?
yeah.
So so you're when you're programmed with stress, then that becomes your vice, I guess, where now you just want
Yeah.
more of it. And that's strange to say, stress, and
Yeah.
uh, that you would want more stress. But okay, so your money story, that again, I
Yeah.
had to interrupt where you were headed
That's
with,
okay. No, and I love it, Casey, because you
but
said something so important that I talk to people a lot about. Like, we are addicted to stress. And how that happens is exactly like you're saying. We get more comfortable feeling uncomfortable. And it sounds really counterintuitive. You're like, why would I want to be addicted to stress? That doesn't make sense. The truth is that you have watched it, you've lived in it. And so your body, it gets like this, it's like almost as if you had DNA that felt comfortable in stress. And so when you start to feel happy, you're actually more uncomfortable because you're like, I don't know what to do with this relaxation and free time. So I actually have to teach people how to relax and how to enjoy and how to tap into that space of presence and having free time, because they
yeah,
say they want it, but when they start to get it, they're uncomfortable because they don't,
that's
it's
the way I feel.
foreign.
I'm like, I grew up. My grandmother, or here in Kentucky, she was on the farm. She lived on a farm, and she would always say, "There's always something to do. There's always something to do.
Yes.
No matter if there's nothing to do, there's always something to do." And I just like, so now looking back, I'm like, okay, is that gonna? That's
Yeah,
exactly what you're saying. I mean, and that's the way she was raised. That's the way she.
totally.
You don't have
Yeah.
free. Your free time is filled by production of some
Yeah.
type.
Well, and there's this huge judgment. If you have free time and you're not doing a lot, you're lazy. And
That's
people have a
right.
huge charge on being lazy.
Yep. That's right. Hey, you want to get somebody going, call them lazy. I mean,
Exactly.
that's
Yeah.
but well, listen, Amanda, I got a couple of questions for you that we always kind of end the episodes with, and I'd like for you just to be as open as possible and tell us what you think. But what is the best book that you have recently read?
I've got it right on my desk because my two of my masterminds we're going through it right now. Say this book is awesome. Oh, let's see if my camera will do it. A Happy Pocket Full of Money.
Happy Pocket Full of
A
Money.
Happy
Right.
Pocket Full of Money. If people go to my YouTube channel, I have a couple chapters reviewed in here. It's by David Cameron Gikandi. Really powerful book on learning wealth consciousness and taking it to higher and higher levels where you can manifest. And it's really about energetic alignment so that you
Yep.
can manifest money more easily, align yourself for easy money making. So it teaches a lot of what I teach in my business.
Awesome. Awesome. That's great. That's good. That's good. That's one I haven't heard of before. So
Yeah,
yeah,
it's a good
I'm always
one.
excited when I get good money management books. Okay. What is a dream vacation that you have either recently taken or hope to take in the future?
Well, I got married in Hawaii last year and I'm
Congratulations.
going again. I love Hawaii. It's
Yep.
fun, easy trip, fun, really relaxing. I love hike. I love the diversity of landscape. It's like hiking and ocean. Love it.
Yep.
So fun
Yep.
one.
And then a little like luau and some hog cooking, and we
Yeah.
call them hogs. I think they call them pigs.
Yeah.
Hogs in the South, but anyway. So, all right, cool. So, listen, obviously, you're chock full of information from a lot of different experiences in your life, and a lot of different, uh, obviously, well, degrees and things that you've been through yourself. If somebody heard something that resonated with them today, or something, for some reason they want to reach out to you, what is the best way for that to happen?
If I were them, I'd go to nfamoneyformula.com. So nfamoneyformula.com. They'll get access to a money mindset quiz, to the money story where they can write their own money story, and then also to the reprogram your money mindset course. So they'll get free teaching, they'll get free quiz, all kinds of cool stuff, and then access to some of my paid options as well. So nfamoneyformula.com. And then of course plug into me on YouTube and at NFA Money, and all kinds of good releases there.
Yes, wonderful. Well, I can't thank you enough for your time. I know it's always hectic trying to get people who are busy like yourself on here and who have a lot of things going on. But I know that the audience is really gonna get some good stuff out of this. And I hope. And again, it's one of those things that if we can just help one person, we've done our job. So I hope that they reach out to you if they are experiencing some type of money problems, and don't forget that your passive income fits right in with what she's got going on and what she's telling you. So I want to thank everybody for listening. Amanda, thank you again so much for being with us. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome, Casey. Thanks for having me on.
Yes, ma'am.
Cashflow Pro is hosted by Casey Brown, founder and CEO of 3000 Capital, a commercial real estate investment firm committed to providing its investors with ongoing cash flow and helping them build long-term wealth. If you enjoyed today's podcast, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you'll be notified about all our future episodes. You can find more information about us and our investment philosophy by clicking the link in the show notes below. Thanks for listening.